Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 7 brand new Christmas Dollar Tree DIYs. Almost all of these are classic Christmas, and we do have one coastal Christmas DIY today too. For the first DIY, we're going to make a grapevine reindeer. I wanted to make a wreath for my front door, and I wanted it to look like a reindeer. So I'm going to use 2 of the grapevine wreath forms, the smaller ones like this, and put them together. One can be the reindeer head, and one can be the body. Now, I used to be able to find these at Dollar Tree, and I haven't been able to find them there in a while, so I actually got mine on Amazon, and they were a pretty good deal. I'll make sure to put them in my Amazon shop, linked in the description, if you want some this size. And I think they're pretty cheap buying them at other craft stores as well. I just tied the 2 together with a little bit of twine there, and that is going to be the neck of our reindeer. So cute. And then I wanted to see if I could kind of make antlers. I think I like this side for the head. I also bought some of the grapevine like this. And I've bought this on Amazon. I've also bought it on Temu before. And I thought I could make just my antlers out of this, just have them be branches. You could always use some branches too from a tree if you had something that would work, but I don't, so I'm going to try to DIY it. But I don't want to forget the reindeer's ears. I'm going to make those with these as well, and I think I'm going to start there. So I cut a little piece off, probably a little bit bigger than I need for both of the ears, and we'll have the ears go out the side, the antlers go out like the very top of our little reindeer. And I trimmed it off where my wire is longer than my grapevine, so I can use that wire to wrap around. And I want to try to bend it. It's kind of hard to bend this without like breaking it, but if you do break it, it's pretty easy to keep it together because the wire has wrapped around it. And I'm going to take that wire and I'm going to put that through my grapevine and wrap that around. Like kind of inside of it is what I was thinking. And I try to poke my branches into it so it makes it look like it's kind of all one piece. So a little bit of working with that to get that exactly the way we want it. Right now, it kind of looks like a bear ear. So I'm going to try to make it look a little bit smaller, but I think we can make it work. You just want like a little bit of a pointy ear, I think. For the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kind of make the wire go off to the side in a safe place, trim off some of this grapevine. That way I don't have to use any wires for the initial attachment of these. And bend this one, trying not to break it if I can. And trying to keep this symmetrical, I'm going to put it just about the same place right over here. And I just put the wire right inside. And I haven't worked with grapevine wreaths very much, probably because I used to be able to find them at Dollar Tree, but I haven't been able to find them there in a long time. And then I am going to put them through here. And they're pretty inexpensive. I'm really not sure why they don't carry them anymore, but they have supplies with the wreath forms all the time. So there are my 2 reindeer ears. Trying to make sure they are symmetrical, and I want it to be a little skinnier. I thought this one kind of looked like a bear ear a little bit, so I moved it over a little bit so it would be a little bit skinnier of an ear, and I think that works. We can always reinforce these if we need to, make them a little bit stronger. I just want to make sure that all of my branches are kind of tucked in. It's all one unit. I'm going to be putting this outside, so I'm going to need it to hold up to weather as well. I think that looks pretty good. So now that we have that done, we can start on the antlers. I am going to have one long antler, and they kind of bend like this, but I'm going to kind of try to straighten it out a little bit, but a little bit of bend is okay. It'll give it a little bit of character. I'm going to cut out 2 of the long branches so they will be the same length. And I am going to just kind of straighten it out a little bit. I think that's okay. Have it kind of go out to the side like that. And then I'm going to unwind the wire on this as well, make this a little shorter, where I can put the wire back down in here just like we did the ears. That way the branches kind of go inside. I try to fit it in there as much as I can and wrap the wire around. I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. I want that to be mirrored, trim, and wire this on. Now, I do want this to have like different branches coming off of it, and I'm going to do that with the grapevine too. I wanted all of this to be that shape. And I kind of had the idea to make this because I have bought like the grapevine bunny rabbit wreath at the Dollar Tree, like at the Dollar Tree Plus. And I was like, I probably could make like a reindeer that was made out of grapevine that would be really cute too. So now that we have those placed and all wired in, I'm going to need some smaller pieces. I'm going to cut one piece here that can be like 2 branches. I can have it kind of go out both sides like that. And I don't really want to wrap it around. I'm actually going to kind of pull apart the grapevine here and slide that on to my antler so it'll be physically attached. I don't want this falling off. Just about right here, I think. And again, you can bend it because it has the wire in there, and you're going to want to try to bend it as much as you can without breaking it. Now, I did think it needed a little bit more stability, so I do have a little bit of wire. This is hardware wire that I got from the Dollar Tree. You could also use any kind of floral wire, whatever you can find. And I am going to wrap that around just like that. I've been having trouble finding wire at the Dollar Tree too. They need to get it together. Now for my second piece, I am going to just have one branch, I think, come out. So I shorten this, add the wire to this, and have this coming out of the side like that. Just one side to make it look a little bit asymmetrical. And that didn't feel like it was very strong, so I went back in there with some wire and kind of tied this together too, just wrapping that around until it feels like it's sturdier. I definitely don't want this falling apart. When I got to the end, I just kind of turn it, and then trim off the excess wire. So we have one antler done. So let's try to do the same thing. I'm going to cut another piece, the same here for the 2 pieces. And the same thing, I'm going to just slide it on. That worked really well before. And I'm just going to mirror image what I have on the other side. So just going to shape this a little bit. If I need some wire, I just add some wire. I was glad that I did have a little bit of wire because I didn't know if I was going to need it because I knew that the grapevine does have wire on there. But having a little bit of extra wire to be able to reinforce things like this did seem to make it a lot better. And I like the fact that it's bendable too. So I can have the branches kind of coming out from the door a little bit too. And it's going to give him even more personality. So I'm going to cut one more piece down here, just like the other side. And we're going to have that go out to the side, leaving a little bit of extra wire on there like that. And we have the structure of our reindeer. This is exactly what I envisioned. If you wanted to do a smaller wreath, you could just do the top ring, but it seemed a little on the small side for me. That's why I went ahead and did the body too. Or if you want to really make this project bigger, you could use a larger grapevine wreath form and just do the head. And just making sure everything is sturdy here. The antlers that I made seem like they are. And then I'm going to make a simple hanger here with some more twines so that I can hang that on the wreath hanger on my door. Now, of course, I want to make him look like Rudolph, so I'm going to use a little Christmas ornament for his nose. These are from the Dollar Tree, the little mini ornaments, the red one. I really like the finish of this one. I just removed the top of the ornament like that, and I'm actually going to glue the top of the ornament down inside the grapevine wreaths. That way it'll be a little bit sturdier right here in the center. So I add some hot glue to that and put that right down into the grapevine on this top wreath form there for a perfect little nose for our Rudolph. And then I thought he needed a bow, but I didn't want to make anything too big. So I'm going to use some of the red and black buffalo check wired ribbon from the Dollar Tree. And we're going to do a very small bow because I don't want it to cover up his nose. So I just kind of wrap that around. We're going to do a faux bow like this, just crisscross it in the front. And I am just going to tie that off with some twine that I can then tie on to the twine that I have hanging the wreaths together to go around his neck a little bit. I did dovetail it first. And again, just a really simple bow. I thought about using a Dollar Tree bow, but I couldn't really find any that I like, and it's so easy to make a bow. I just tied the twine here like this and making sure I have it centered, knotting that, pulling down both of my tails. I've already dovetailed it, and I can just hang it here. I was trying to figure out how the best way to do that. And then I was like, I have this twine right here. So I'll just feed this twine through and be able to tie this off. That way it'll not be necessarily in the middle of his neck because that would cover up the nose, but it hangs down just a little bit. Almost like where you would wear like a bow tie for this little guy. But I think he definitely needed a pop of color. And this is how he turned out, our little reindeer wreath. I'm really pleased with him. I think he's going to look so festive on my door for Christmas. Look how cute. I love him. A classic for sure. Let me give you a little closer look of how our reindeer wreath turned out. Now, if Dollar Tree still has any of these little grapevine wreaths at your Dollar Tree, you can make it with those. Otherwise, Amazon and Temu is where I have gotten mine, but I'm sure if you have some other crafting stores, I don't have a big variety, you can get them there too. And that's so cute. Hey guys, if you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't. We're trying to get to 50,000 subscribers, and don't forget to hype this video. The next Christmas DIY is really easy. I picked up a 5x7 frame at the Dollar Tree and I designed a free printable of Santa, very classic, and I will share a link to that free printable in the description down below. Just look for this DIY and you'll find the link, and you can print one out too. I printed mine out on cardstock. For the frame, I just got one of these faux wood frames from the Dollar Tree in a 5x7. It's dark brown, but it's got a great texture on there. So I thought we could add a few other colors of brown and really make it special. So first I used this color, I believe this is called nutmeg, and I just kind of went all over, really kind of covering up the dark brown, and I went around the edges as well. Since it has all this texture on there, you can still see different colors coming through, but this is what it looked like dried. So it's still kind of one color. So I added a little ivory paint to that same color to give me a lighter color, and then I distressed over that just very lightly so those darker brown colors shine through. And I really like that look. It made it look like old weathered wood, and just don't forget your edges when you're doing that as well. Super easy. I'm going to kind of blot this with a dry paper towel because I don't want to wipe it off because I like the look of it. I just want it to be a little bit less intense. And that seemed to work really well. And as you can see, I painted and distressed the edges too, because you will be able to see those. Now for the printable, I printed mine out on cardstock because what I'm going to do is attach it to the glass that goes inside the frame. You could always put it in there, like traditionally, like the picture behind the frame. I like to put it on top. So I'm going to sketch it out with a pencil so I know exactly how big I want it to be. And I'm going to cut my cardstock down. And the reason that I like to print on cardstock, it's so much easier to Mod Podge. And that's what I want it to do. I want it to look like almost like a painting or an art print, which is one reason why I like to do it on the top of the glass. And the glass is a perfect smooth surface for this. I've done this a million times and it always works out great. So I take some Mod Podge and I put that all over the glass, making sure not to miss any spots so that I can just attach that. It's just a transparent background, and then the Santa Claus, a classic Santa Claus, and the word believe. I think that's really cute. And my printable is 5x7, but you could probably resize that if you wanted to do a larger one or a smaller one, depending on what kind of frame you have. And then I'm going to seal it with some more Mod Podge, just like this. And try to make sure I don't have any bleeding. Sometimes red can bleed a little bit, but I did let this printable sit for a bit, so it should be definitely dry. I dried that and went over it with one more thin coat to really seal this. And now we can just pop this glass back in the frame, and we have a really beautiful art print. And we can use the back, so we can hang it, we can use it with a stand. I think I'm going to use mine with a stand. And this is going to look so cute with some of my other Christmas decor. Very classic Christmas, very vintage looking. And now you can see up close the texture of that frame. It's one reason I like those frames from the Dollar Tree. They may not be real wood, but that texture is incredible, especially if you do something like this with it. All those browns just really made it special. And there it is, our little Santa DIY, a very easy Christmas DIY. For the next DIY, I picked up 2 of the metal bow lanterns from the Dollar Tree. The really tall one was $5 and the shorter one was $3. I have no idea why they're black because that doesn't really go with my Christmas. And they did have a huge problem. For some reason, they resined these little glass candle holders inside, so you cannot remove them. They are permanently in there. So, if you want to paint them, you're going to have to go to a lot of work to get that done. Now, I wanted to spray paint them. I like to spray paint metal items, I think it gives you a really nice finish. And so, I really have to protect everything. The first thing I did was just go in with some painter's tape and close off the top so paint doesn't go inside of them. And then I'm going to have to cover the outside of the candle holders too. I'm just going to use some plain printer paper for that and try to work around the base of this. And they did have some really sticky stickers here on the bottom as well. I just removed those, added a little Goo Gone there, and I want this to fit down inside the little metal part there at the bottom, like that, and we can make a little sleeve to go around it. This is a little taller than I need, so I'm just going to trim this piece of paper down, and then we can tape this shut. I want to just protect all of the glass because the spray paint is definitely going to go everywhere. And I must have did a pretty good job of taping it all off because I didn't really have any of the paint on the glass. Now, one thing that was a problem is they don't resin them in like perfect either. And so there's some areas of the black metal that you can't paint, but it is at the very bottom of the candle. So I think it'll be okay. I discovered this. I was watching another crafter. I can't remember who, someone on Facebook, and she had the same problem. She painted hers gold, and they were so cute. And I want to paint mine too. I want to paint mine bright red for Christmas. I think that will look really cute. So just like the other one, I taped off the top, covered it with paper, then I taped the paper down. I wanted to tape it off as much as possible, but I don't want to cover up, of course, any of the black metal that I want to paint. So that looks pretty good. Now I do have to remove all this goo from that sticky sticker that was on the bottom of it. I just used some adhesive remover and kind of tried to scrape that off because I'm going to want to paint the bottom of it too. And I want to do like a bright red. Now I have a spray primer, and since they are black and I want to go to red, I thought priming them might make it look a little bit better. This is the primer I'm going to use, and I have it because I'm using it in another DIY today. So I thought, you know what? I bet these will turn out really good if I prime them. Normally, I don't, but I did on this one. So I just sprayed some white primer on that, and then I'm going to keep turning this around and spraying all of the inside and outside edges of this, trying to get all of the loops of the bow and all of the sides and the insides of the ribbon. I think it's so cute. I just don't know why they're black. I guess they could look cute if you added like a little bit of color with a candle, but just not really my vibe. I wanted mine to be red. Now, this is my second one. I'm going to paint the bottom of that one with the primer and then paint this. And then I will set these aside, let these start drying, and so that I can go in with some spray paint. Now, if you were going to paint yours with acrylic paint, I think you could get away with it and you might not have to tape off the glass as much as I did. But for spray paint, it was definitely necessary. I'm going in with some bright red spray paint. The color is apple red, and I sprayed the bottom. And I also need to kind of paint the underside of like the bow and stuff like that too, and the top of it. So I sprayed it from this direction too. And while that's drying, I can start here on the taller one. I kind of got red spray paint all over me from this DIY because my box wasn't quite tall enough doing this here in my garage. And I think I got the overspray on my arms and it made it look like I had a sunburn, which was kind of funny. I did the same thing with that one. Now that those are dry, I can flip it over and we can paint some red on this side. Isn't that color so pretty? It really makes me think of Christmas. I love using a lot of red and white for Christmas. I don't usually bring in a lot of green. Sometimes I do. But I mainly like red and white for my Christmas decor. But of course, I also have coastal Christmas decor, and we do have a coastal Christmas DIY today. I'm painting all the edges, keep turning it until I see no more of the white. And we have 2 red lanterns. We just have to set those aside to dry, and this is how they look. I think they're so pretty. I don't know if priming them really did make them a brighter red, but I feel like they are really popping with that red. So time to remove all of the painter's tape and paper and see if we did a good job of taping these off. And I was pleased to see that we did. Now you can see the bottom of the candle holder. It's going to be, of course, black there where it is resined on. And some of them are like kind of lopsided in the tray, so I wasn't able to get the inside of it. But we're also going to DIY a candle ring, so you won't be able to see that in the end. I think they look pretty good right now. And I want to add some candles to these. This one is 6 inches for a candle, and this is the 3-inch candle. Now, I found a 3-inch candle at Dollar Tree, and I got the 6-inch candle at Michael's because I couldn't find anything at Dollar Tree that big. This is the one from the Dollar Tree. I just added a little white sand in the bottom to cover up that black and to kind of look like snow. And we're going to add this candle right here. And then didn't have any white candles. White candles would look good too, but I don't really mind the ivory candles in there. It's a fun contrast against the white sand. And this is the larger candle that I got. I don't think Dollar Tree ever carries them quite this big. And you know, if you don't want to use real candles, you could always use some battery operated candles as well. I think that'd be really cute to light up these lanterns, especially if you were going to use it outside. I'm going to be using mine indoors and adding a little bit more white sand to this one. And this is what the Christmas bow lanterns look like so far without any extra decor. But of course, we need a little candle ring in there. This is some Dollar Tree greenery that I have that I cut up last year to use on a tier tray. So I saved that, and I'm glad I did. And I can just reuse it. I took some wire, and I wrapped that around the end. I'm going to take another piece, wrap it about halfway, also wrap it around the end. And I'm going to continue doing that to form a ring that can just fit on the inside. If you had a candle ring this size, you could totally use it as well. But I'm just going to kind of custom make one. I like this Christmas greenery from the Dollar Tree because it's not real green. It's, you know, more of a muted color, and it's got a little flocking on there, kind of snowy. I like that look. And I just wired it all the way around, wiring it to itself there in the end. I'm going to make one more of these for the other one. And I wanted to buy 2 of these so that I could put them together. I think they just look so pretty together as a set. So I definitely wanted to do 2 of these today for you guys. And again, I'm just going to wire this around. And I do have some small items I think we can add to this to make this extra special. Don't they look so much better red than they do black? Dollar Tree, if you're watching, why did you make these black? Make them red. Okay, so the large berries are the first thing I'm going to add. These are the red berries that have like the little snow effect on them. And beware, these are $1.75 now. They have these like in the regular aisle with, I think, the $1.50 it is now, Christmas stuff. And I was kind of surprised to see that they were $1.75, but I guess they're worth it. They're pretty cute. I actually cut mine off the wires just to make it easier. And I'm just going to hot glue those, one in each space I have here between the ribbons. And I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. I thought we could add a couple things in each little space. And I do kind of want it to be symmetrical, so, you know, it looks good from all directions. So we have 4 on each one. The next thing I thought we would add was jingle bells. So I have some little silver jingle bells from the Dollar Tree. These are almost the same size as the berries, and I'm just going to hot glue them in there. The little clasp that you can tie them on is what I'm adding the glue to. And again, I'm going to add one in every section. So each section has a berry and a jingle bell. All I had was silver, but I think gold ones would look really pretty in there too. And I think that looks so fun and festive for Christmas. So let's go ahead and do the same thing here. I'm going to kind of rearrange that so I have enough room to add my bells. And I add 4 bells to this one as well. And we have a set of Christmas lanterns. I'm going to use these indoors, but you could probably use them outdoors too. If you had like a covered porch or something like that. I don't know how sturdy they would be out in the weather or anything like that with the glass on there and stuff like that. And they might hold water. So that's what I was thinking with that. Mine are definitely inside, but this is what it looks like during the day. I think they're so pretty. And I did switch out that candle on the left there because I had one that was a little bit wider that matched to the color of the other candle a little bit better. So I did swap that one out, but you could definitely use the Dollar Tree candle. But this is what they look like lit up at night. Isn't that so pretty? Really gets me in the mood for Christmas, which is hard because it's, still pretty warm here in Florida, but we did have a couple of cold nights. Again, during the day, bright and festive with that red color. I definitely recommend painting them, even though it was a chore. Now, the next DIY, I'm going to do the 24-inch stackable decor of the gift boxes. I've never found these at my Dollar Tree. I was so excited. I've been looking for them, and I wanted to see if I could DIY them. They are not painted. Great colors, though. Look at these. I don't know what they're thinking with these colors. It'd be great if they would just give them to us white. I did unscrew the bow from the top one, and we're going to do these in coastal decor. So the first thing I'm going to do is prime them. The reason that I'm priming them is that I've watched a whole bunch of fails of people trying to DIY these and the paint not sticking. I don't know if it's because of the plastic, the temperature, or what, but I thought I would use a good primer on them first, just painting them white, and hopefully my paint will stick because I'm going to be using the same kind of paint that they were using, the 2X. Now, I have seen a recommendation for a paint that they used that did work, and that was the Rust-Oleum Universal. And I did find it in a pretty color, but I couldn't find it in 3 colors. I want all of my gift boxes to be 3 different colors and all coastal colors. So the primer did work. I mean, I think if you used acrylic paint on it and sealed it, you might be just as good. I have used that a lot, but haven't done the actual gift boxes before, so who knows? I don't know what they do to these plastics, but there seems to be something about them that they don't like spray paint. But I was determined. Priming seems to work. I don't know. I didn't seal them because I primed them, and then I also used a spray paint that had like primer in it, but I don't know. I hope that they hold up outside. We will see. These are the colors I'm using. I'm using the Modern Mint, the Ivory, and the Aqua of the Rust-Oleum 2X Ultra Cover Paint and Primer. 2 of those were gloss. 1 I could only get in satin, but I heard that gloss works well, so we will see here. I'm going to start with the top gift, and you do have to kind of spray it from both directions. This one is the Modern Mint. I thought I could do the Modern Mint on the top, the Ivory in the middle, and the Aqua color on the bottom, and those would be perfect coastal colors. But you could always do whatever color scheme you like to decorate for Christmas. These are going out front, and so I wanted them to match the rest of my coastal decor. The medium gift is going to be this ivory color. And putting the white primer on there probably made painting these so much easier. I didn't really use a lot of paint. My cans are still pretty full after spray painting all of these, even though these are pretty big. And I painted this one ivory. They do have the ribbon on the side. I'm not going to paint those. I thought we could attach real ribbon to that to really give the Christmas gift feel. This is my largest one, and this one is going to be aqua. And again, I just kind of painted. A couple of them had kind of ridges that made it a little bit easier to stand up. This is almost as big as my giant box that I like to paint in, but I was able to paint them all pretty easily. Just going to turn them around and cover up those obnoxious colors that were on there before. It's going to be very soft and coastal. I haven't done a lot of new coastal DIYs lately. I'm really struggling trying to get views on those. And I used to have a pretty large audience for like just the coastal specific videos. But here lately, I can only get about 2,000 people to watch them. And I have almost 50,000 subscribers. So be sure to support the videos and like, comment, share, any of those things, watching the whole video. That really helps the YouTube algorithm. Okay, let's decorate these gifts. This is dry now. I'm going to use some of the burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree, just the regular kind that comes like this. And I'm going to wrap that over. So it's going to be a little bit wider than the ribbon, but I think that's fine. And I think I'm just going to wrap it tight to it so I don't have to glue the whole thing down. I can just kind of glue the ends like this. And I thought I could just kind of overlap the sides. Now, I kind of forgot that clicking these little stackables together can be a little bit of a challenge sometimes. So I actually made mine go inside And you're probably not going to want to do that, especially on the top of this one. I did have to go back and shorten some of these to get them to be able to click together a little bit better because the ribbon did get in the way. But I kind of forgot about it at this point. So right here, you see me gluing on the inside. What you want to do is glue it a little bit short of the area, give it some room to click there. And the next gift will be sitting on top of it. You won't be able to see it. But the bottom, you could definitely overlap it like that with no problem. As you can see, I'm just hot gluing the ends. And the large present and the medium size present wasn't that big of an issue. It was the top package that I really had a lot of problem getting it to click on, which I've had that problem with these stackables in the past, but the ribbon definitely interfered a little bit. So keep that in mind. But I think this is a nice neutral color to go against that nice beachy blue. And I have some fun ideas for decorating the outside of our packages too. I've seen some people like cut like little Christmas shapes out of cricket vinyl. That would be really cute too to decorate them. I'm going to kind of do like a larger decoration on the side of these on top of this ribbon. I decided to use the burlap ribbon for all of them. On this one, I was smart. See how I glued it on the inside of that so it wouldn't interfere with the clicking? I don't know why I didn't think to do that on the top. So when you're doing this one as well, you want to glue it a little bit on the outside of the open square there and not go inside like this because I had to peel that off, trim that a little bit, and glue that back down. Here at the bottom, I made the right decision and cut it short. You definitely don't want to interfere with the mechanics of this. I did think about adding a colored ribbon to this one since it's just ivory, but I like the idea of using burlap ribbon on all of them. It's just classic and coastal. And they kind of get smaller, the ribbons too, as you go up, the smaller size gifts, but I think they look good with the same size ribbon on all of them. So we have another wrapped gift. Let's go ahead and do the top one. I think this mint color turned out really pretty. It's very subtle, but I like it. I like that they're all different colors. And I'm going to cut 2 pieces of ribbon for this one. This one's going to be really easy, kind of crisscross and go from one side to the other. And this one I made the right decision. Glued them right here so it doesn't interfere. It's not a super thick ribbon, but you really need that plastic to have room to be able to click on there. And I do like the fact that they are stackable because if you do need to take them apart for storage, you can. I always have a terrible time trying to have enough room to store my larger DIYs like this. They usually end up in the attic. And I crisscross this and kind of come down. I have so much seasonal crafting supplies since I've been doing this so many years here on YouTube that I have so much that I have stored out in my garage. And I have a 1-car garage that I also craft in. It's also my laundry room. So I was thinking about renting a storage unit for it. And I was like, oh no, that would be super inconvenient, I think, to have to go to the storage unit because you never know when you're going to need your craft supplies. And I'm going to use coastal starfish, sand dollars, and some faux coral. I like these little tree ornaments from the Dollar Tree. You get 2. These are just Christmas ornaments that are trees, but when you turn them upside down and pop off the little plastic tree trunks, they look just like coral. Now, the starfish and the sand dollars are from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. They didn't have any at my store this year, but I have stocked up. I buy a case of them every year. But you can always get starfish, sand dollars, that kind of stuff on Amazon too, or Temu, other places, pretty inexpensive. But hopefully they bring back the Shore Living line to Dollar Tree. That probably really hurt my coastal this year. Coastal's definitely suffered this year for crafting for me, but it's probably all Dollar Tree's fault, right? And I'm going to paint them. I mixed together a white together with an antique parchment to kind of give me an in-between color. And I also filled in all of the ornament hangers with a little bit of spackle because I didn't want my coral to have holes in the bottom of them. I'm only going to paint the one side that you're going to be able to see. That's going to kind of tone down the glitter that was on there before because I want them all to look the same. These are resin sand dollars and starfish. They're not real ones, but they don't have the best color, so I thought painting them with this color would make them look a little bit more realistic too and give them a really good texture. Again, only painting the top of them. I went over them with that white and ivory mixed together, and finally the starfish. I was thinking the largest item is a coral, right? So we could use that for the largest gift. And I want to decorate all four sides. This is going to be outside, so I want it to be beautiful and coastal from every direction. And the second item is probably the sand dollars, so that can go on the medium sized gift. And the smallest are the starfish, so I think I'm going to put those on the top gift. But I've painted them all. Now they're going to look a little bit more uniform, and I think this is going to make everything so coastal. You could also use seashells for this too, if you had some larger ones. So again, this is the larger one. We're just going to use some hot glue onto this, and I'm going to glue this directly onto the ribbon here. Just like that with some hot glue. I use Gorilla Glue, hot glue, and it does seem to hold up pretty well for me outdoors, especially if I'm gluing to a fabric or a rope or something like that. So trying to make sure that I have them about the same height. And don't these just look just like coral? I use these every year. I have so many coastal Christmas DIYs that I've made with these. I've made trees, Christmas trees out of them. I've made wreaths. I've made all kinds of fun things out of them. They're my favorite ornament. They're really the one I consistently buy every year. Now for the middle gift, our little ivory gift, we're going to give them the sand dollars here. Just like that. If you wanted to add a pop of color to this one, you could paint your sand dollars a different color. But again, I wanted it to all really look good together since they're all going to be displayed together. And if you did not want to stack these, you could use them as planters and things like that too, and display like some faux plants in them. That would be cute too. But I really like the idea of a gift stack for sure. It just makes sense to me. So I'm going to try to stack these. I was able to get these two to click together. It was the top one that really fought me, but I did kind of go back and trim the ribbon down on all of these, so they'll be easy to attach together like this. But so far, they're looking very coastal. I'm so glad that I decided to decorate all of the sides. All we have left is the top gift. I'm using the starfish on this one, hot gluing that on. These Dollar Tree ones always have a couple of the rays that actually are lower than the other ones, so you don't need to put glue on all of them. Really only the ones that are actually going to touch it, and gluing these onto the ribbon too. Now, instead of the bow that was on there before, the plastic bow, I thought we could do something a lot better. So I want to make a fun coastal color bow, something really big for the top of it to replace the plastic bow. But if you don't mind that plastic bow, you could totally use that. Just cut a hole in the ribbon. These are the ribbons that I'm going to use. One is the fall ribbon and one is the Easter ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I thought this beachy color of blue mixed together with this burlap would be perfect. The blue is very close to the aqua of the large gift, and we'll tie that in nicely. And I want to do a big poofy bow. So what I'm going to do is start here with the blue one. I make a tail and I'm going to have the loop on the top. Kind of a different bow than I've ever made before, and I'm not even sure if I did this properly, but it turned out kind of cool. For the burlap, I pinched it and I added a tail and a loop for this one too. Then I'm going to go through and give myself another blue one here on top and another burlap. And then I'm going to do one more blue and one more burlap and then cut a second set of tails here. And I'm going to be adding more to this too to make a big, huge bow for the top. And I just trim this off right about here so my tails are about the same. And I'm going to take a zip tie and wrap around and cinch this like this. So kind of like the normal way I make a bow, but kind of on its side. That way the ribbon will all be exactly where I want it to be. And I'm going to add some more here. I had enough ribbon to be able to do 2 more loops of each color instead of 3, but I'm going to have these loops kind of going out in a different direction. So again, I pinched it, gave a tail, and then alternated colors doing the same thing. And that's about all the ribbon I have here, so I'm going to trim that off. Zip tie these together too, but I'm going to actually zip tie it all together with the other bow. See how I have it kind of going the other direction? And these are all wired ribbons, so it should be easy enough to shape this and make a big fluffy bow for the top. And I like the idea of using 2 colors together. I think that's so pretty, and I think these colors are really pretty. Don't they look good together? I've never used these 2 ribbons together. They're the same width, and they're just very similar except for color. I dovetailed all of the ends and tried to make all of the tails about the same length. like that. And now it's time to try to shape this up a little bit. I was able to cinch all of the folds in the bow inside that zip tie, and it all stayed put. For the tails, I'm going to have them kind of go out to the side like that. So I have a flat bottom to my bow. And I think I pulled it off. I think it looks pretty cool. Just definitely a lot of shaping, trying to alternate the colors between the blue and the tan so they're all not the same. And we're going to attach this to the top gift like that. Look how big this is. It's almost as big as that small gift. I'm just going to attach it with some hot glue here, right there on that top ribbon. And try to put it on here without smashing the entire bow, but getting that glued down really well. Now I have kind of tails coming out in every single direction. And also I have a really large bow. Time to pop this together. I did try to pop this on here and it did not want to go. So I did trim that ribbon down a little bit and was able to get it to pop on there. But it's so big I couldn't really show you. So this is how it turned out. A little close-up view here of our coastal gift stack. Isn't this so fun? I know all of my coastal friends out there will really love this. I haven't seen anybody decorate their gift stack like this, so I definitely wanted to give it a go. So pretty. For this DIY, I wanted to see if I could make a pine cone tree. So I picked up some pine cones. I think I got these at Walmart. The candle holder I got for half price at Dollar General the other day. It's regularly $3, so I got it for $1.50, and it's so nice. But you could always use the gold candle holders from the Dollar Tree too. And the foam cone I actually got on Temu. It's a little bit larger than the one at Dollar Tree. Well, it's probably a lot larger than the one at the Dollar Tree, which is why I upgraded that a little bit because I wanted to make a large pine cone tree. Now, you could always find pine cones in your yard or your neighborhood. I do not have any, so I have to buy them for sure. Sometimes I can find them at Dollar Tree and sometimes I can't. Very hit or miss. But I had these left over from Walmart, and so I hadn't used them, and they're scented too. So I thought some apple cinnamon scent would be perfect for this. I'm also going to use some gold metallic paint, and what I want to do is give them a little bit of gilding. I don't want to paint the whole thing. I just want them to have a little bit of glitz. And it's kind of important to do this at this step. So I'm using a couple of empty paint can lids, and I'm going to stand these on upside down like this. And I'm going to take the metallic gold spray paint and just give them a dusting. I definitely want them still to be brown, but I want them to have a little bit of a gold gilding on them. Now, you could also do this with white spray paint if you wanted yours to look a little bit snowy, or you could just leave them the regular pine cones. That would be pretty too. They have kind of a fun design on them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these pine cones apart and have pine cone scales. I'm going to cover that entire topiary with the little pieces of pine cone, and it turned out just magnificent. And I kind of estimated how many I was going to need for a cone that size, and I chose a total of 9. And you know what? I had exactly enough pine cones. So I estimated perfectly, which is great because I didn't want to have to paint them again. Now, for the cone itself, it's just white foam, and I'm trying to remember the height of this. I can't look it up on my Temu app because I got a new phone and I don't remember my password, which is probably a good thing to keep me from shopping. But Temu does keep contacting me to do a sponsored video. I don't know if a lot of you guys get your crafting supplies on Temu. If you do, or if you would like to see a Temu video, let me know down in the comments below. I just painted it with some brown acrylic paint, and now it's time for the work to begin, dismantling the pine cones. At first I tried with scissors, but I didn't feel like I was having a lot of luck, especially when I kind of got down in there. So I switched from scissors to pliers, and I kind of went back and forth on this first one, but out of the two and actually pulling them, definitely the pliers. There's no way I'm going to be able to pull all of these out. And, you know, it did break some of them, but most of them came out pretty intact. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to start with, I think I started with like 6 pine cones, and I went ahead and removed all of the pieces. And once I did one, I would just kind of pick out all of the good scales and kind of throw away the rest of the stuff. so we can start covering this tree. Now, this was kind of a labor of love. As you can see, it's going to take a ton of the pine cone scales to cover this, but the final result is definitely a work of art. I'm so glad I decided to do this, but I'm also kind of glad that I did not do two. I thought about doing two. I'm going to start here at the bottom, add a bead of hot glue, and you can do a bead and do like, 4 or 5 of these before your hot glue starts to set up. And I'm overlapping the bottom of the cone a little bit. Now, if you wanted to recreate this with supplies from the Dollar Tree, you totally could. You could use the small foam cone from the Dollar Tree, some of their pine cones, and their gold candle holder, or any of their metal candle holders, and just paint it gold. So I just wanted to make a larger version. So that is why I used some supplies from some other stores. And I went all the way around. So we have one bead like that. I'm not going to cover the bottom with pine cones. You're not going to be able to see it down there. And the reason that I painted the foam cone brown is because you might be able to have a few gaps here. I did try to nestle them together as closely as I can and see how some of them are like really gold. Some of them are mostly brown. And that's what I wanted. I wanted a variety. And I'm just trying to make it work with shapes and sizes, trying to keep it in an even row if I can here for the second row. Just hot gluing again, like about 5 of them at a time, and then starting a new row. Now, some of mine pulled out all the way, so they kind of had like they're curved and had a point on them. I didn't bother cutting those off. I think that's going to add even more character to these, where those little pieces are going to be kind of peeking in between some of the other pinecone scales. And I'm just going to keep building this up. I've done projects with pinecone scales before. I've covered pumpkins. I'm trying to think what else. I think I've done something else on my channel before. But as you can see, they have this beautiful pattern on one side of the scale, and the gilding is definitely the trick. I really love that. And doing that while the pine cones were still together just made it very random like this, because if I were trying to get that look after I put it all together, it would be a lot harder to get that cool look where they're all a little bit different colored. So we're going to speed this way up here and just keep covering this entire thing with pinecone scales. You're going to be able to see about how far 6 of the pine cones got me. I was able to cover like maybe 2/3 of it because, the bottom part's definitely going to require more pine cone scales than the top. And I was really hoping that I had painted enough of these, and I'm glad to say that I had the perfect amount. So took apart some more of the pine cones. I left one there just in case I didn't have to take it apart. That was definitely the work of the project. Hot gluing these on was pretty easy. And I did use a little bit of heat there trying to get rid of any visible hot glue on those, but you got to be careful because you don't want to melt the foam. It held up pretty well to my hot glue, and I don't know if that's because of the foam or the fact that I painted it, because sometimes the foam, likes to dissolve under the heat of the hot glue, but this one worked out pretty well. And I like these larger size cones from Temu. Definitely a lot cheaper than trying to buy them at Michael's or somewhere like that for sure. And we're almost done, but you know what? That last pine cone is going to have to be pulled apart too. So I did that with my pliers, and now we can finish this off. And I mean, I had the exact right amount to do that for this pine cone Christmas tree. I love the look of this. It's so pretty and classy. And the great thing about it is that it's not specifically just for Christmas. I could leave this up all winter long. And I have a lot of really expensive decorative trees that I've bought like at home decor stores. And this will fit in perfectly with my Christmas decor, and definitely looks like something that I purchased. Now, this is a candle holder that I'm going to use. It has an open top. It's just for like a taper candle. And I'm going to use that open edge, kind of imprint a circle right here on the bottom of the foam, right where I want that to be. And I'm going to kind of dig out a little opening here so I can add the candle holder inside of it. It's a pretty tall candle holder, so I should be able to put it inside to make this sturdier, and it's still going to be really tall. I picked up that candle holder at Dollar General on clearance for $1.50. I think it's so pretty. I picked up a couple of those. They're definitely made out of a nicer material than the ones from the Dollar Tree. And as you can see, it fits in there, but I think I need it to go in there a little bit more. And I'm just using like a flathead screwdriver to kind of dig that out a little bit. Add some hot glue here inside the cavity and add the candle holder here and scrape some of this extra hot glue in there too. Just like that. It doesn't have to be perfect on the bottom that you really can't see it there. And I just slid that in like that. And that worked out perfectly for the foam. And it gave me a nice sturdy base and it was super easy. This is how it turned out. My pine cone scale Christmas tree. Isn't it gorgeous? I really love this. I had to show this off to my husband first thing. I was like, look at this Christmas tree. And all in all, I think it took me a couple of hours to put this together. So definitely a time consuming project, but I think it turned out beautiful. I'm so glad I decided to DIY it. Isn't this so pretty? I think it's so classy looking. For this DIY, I wanted to do a Christmas cardinal sign. So I picked up a little wooded slat sign from the Dollar Tree and I designed a printable of a cardinal that I printed out on cardstock. And I will share a link to this free printable for the cardinal in the description of today's video. I removed the hanger here from my sign. This is the square sign, the slatted sign from the Dollar Tree that does not have the frame. Makes it a little bit easier not having to work around the frame. And I just sketched that out on my cardstock with a pencil so I can go ahead and cut this down to size. What I want to do is I want those boards to look like white boards with a cardinal on there. But instead of painting it, I'm just going to use the white from the cardstock instead of trying to paint out the cardinal and painting it. So I'm going to cover the entire thing like this, and then we'll cut it up and make it look like boards. So I used Mod Podge here on the Dollar Tree sign. I love this sign. They have the ones with the frame too, which would work. You're just going to have to measure the inside of your frame to be able to cut down your piece to go right inside. But this one you can go straight up to the edges like that. I carefully place my cardstock right on top and press that down with a dry paper towel to make sure that all the areas are glued down and has good contact, especially the corners. Now, once I have that on there, I can go ahead and start sealing it. So I'm going to use Mod Podge here on the top, which is one reason why I like to work with cardstock. I don't have to really wait for it to dry. And I went over it with a coat of that to help start sealing that on there and gave that a quick dry with my heat gun. I did have one area here at the top that wasn't super flat, maybe a little air bubble. I'm going to go over that with a little bit more Mod Podge and see if we can get that completely flat. Then I used a sanding sponge here on the edges to make sure I didn't have any paper coming over the sides. I did a pretty good job of cutting that down perfectly and getting it on there. And the cardinal is so cute. I think cardinal for Christmas, definitely. Now I kind of looked to see where my slats are and I used a razor blade and kind of carefully followed the slat. You don't want to mess up you on this step because then you'll cut your paper and it'll be hard to repair it. So make sure that your line is straight. It does have kind of a large groove, which made it a little bit easier in between the different boards. And I cut it a couple of times just to make sure that it's really cut through and I have a little separation between the boards. And now I still get that pallet board look, but I have this beautiful cardinal on there. Once I cut it, I went over and sealed it with one more coat of the Mod Podge to really make this a permanent sign. And I have the little cardinal like perched on a little twig there. And I also want to add some items for like Christmas decor on this as well. I do want to distress this to make them look like old boards, a little bit of a farmhouse vibe. So I took some antique wax by Waverly and a little chunky brush that I picked up at Amazon, and I just worked in one direction and I did a very light dry brush on top of the white. And now it really looks like old weathered wood. So pretty, very subtle, but I think that definitely gave it a lot of character. Definitely doesn't look like just a sheet of paper. Then I have to kind of feel for where my hanger was here. I poked new holes in it just using my little Cricut weeder. I used so much spray paint in today's video. I got so much spray paint on my hands and on my arms. I definitely looked like I had a sunburn. I was like, wait a minute, I haven't been outside in the sun. It was kind of funny. Red spray paint has got to be probably the messiest. I probably should have done that outside, but I wanted to show you guys what I was doing. Now for the Christmas touches, I'm going to use some of these little garland ties, the wired garland from the Dollar Tree, and some of the little berries. So I took a piece and I am going to cut that in half. If you don't need some wire cutters, the pet nail trimmers there from the Dollar Tree work fantastic for that. And then I'm going to cut another piece. I think I really only want 3. I like to work with odd numbers, like 3 pieces of greenery. It's a little long, but we can always shorten it a little bit. I use that wire to wire this right in the middle, so I have 3 of them attached, and trim them down a little bit. I think that looks cute, just maybe up in one corner like that. And I do want it to coordinate a little bit more with that leafy green color of the tree on the picture. So I used some leafy green acrylic and I went over and just distressed that greenery. That way I have 2 different colors of green coming through, and it's just going to make it look more high end anytime you add like another color to your greenery. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to actually just staple it on up here. These signs from the Dollar Tree are pretty thick, so a staple gun works perfect for that, and have that kind of branch out like that. Then I'm going to use the little red berries from the Dollar Tree. I think these are the medium sized one. They're a little bit smaller. And I just cut them off the wire, and we're going to glue 3 of the little red berries up here in the corner. I thought about doing both corners, but I thought that might be too much. I think 1 is going to be plenty. And then for a little character, I dusted them with some white acrylic paint to make them look like they have a dusting of snow. Also on the berries, I probably distressed the berries a little too much, so let's wipe some of that off. And I want my berries to be different colors too. Instead of just the plain red, I wanted a little bright red in there too to make that coordinate with that bright red cardinal on there. So I have like 3 different colors on the berries for a little bit of dimension. And this is how it turned out, our little cardinal Christmas sign. So pretty. I love cardinals. I love like the meaning behind cardinals. And definitely one of my favorite birds, especially for Christmas. So bright and cheerful with the red color. So I definitely wanted to include them as a Christmas DIY. And again, free printables, as always, are in the description of today's video so that you can recreate. Now it's time for the final reveal. I really hope you enjoyed these 7 new Dollar Tree Christmas DIYs. Let me know which DIY was your favorite down in the comments below, or just come say hello. We love to hear from you. You can find me at Crafty Beach on YouTube on all social media, and this is the QR code if you'd like to buy me a coffee. Enjoy the final reveal.
Merry Christmas, baby. Reindeer's coming out to play. Santa Claus is packing the presents, making sure you've been behaving okay. Merry Christmas, honey. Yeah. The snowman's dusting off his hat, putting on the show for everybody, to give them a smile that lasts another year. There's something that happens when sleigh bells are ringing, when December ends, when the children are singing, yeah. It's Merry Christmas, baby. Ooh, yeah, there's room at the table for big and for small. All the fire is popping, the chestnuts are cracking, yeah. Merry Christmas, baby. Merry Christmas, baby.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. And I also want to give a huge thank you to all of my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you so much to Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Maren Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Donna Tanner, Red Mama, Powell Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Jenny, Debbie Austin, James Osborne, and our newest member, Lizette Thomas. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. You can become a member too. You'll get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube. You can join on your computer or your phone. And if you would like more crafting inspiration for Christmas, I've got you covered. Check out one of these Christmas DIY videos here. And until next time, happy crafting for Christmas.
The snow is laying 2 feet deep. Now wish upon a fall.